Okay, so very, very quickly, I just wanted to make a very quick post. I wanted to just take a look at two sectors. Chances are you're actually paying attention to these two sectors. The first is autos, and the second is housing. And the reason why I'm pretty sure you're paying attention to both sectors is simply because here in America, the two most important investments that a person's typically going to make is number one, buying a place to live, which is their house, and number two is purchasing a car. Now, the auto loan sector and the home loan sector are both screwed up really bad right now. So here's one short story from Yahoo Finance. New car market prices are about to plummet due to oversupply. Now, I recently made a video of the New York International Auto Show. And even before I made that video, I took a look at a couple of auto loan dealers right here on the streets. And the simple fact is, I've noticed that for the last couple of months, they've had cars just sitting there, specifically Mercedes Benz, BMW, Audi. They've had their cars just sitting there. And I've seen the exact same cars day to day. Now, there are some very wealthy people out there who can afford the ridiculous prices of paying for these large, expensive cars, the ones that surpass 60 and 70 and $80,000. But for the majority of the market, buying those cars was virtually impossible, with the exception that interest rates were lower than 3%. Leasing a car at lower than 3% is reasonable. Leasing one of these trucks at less than 3% was reasonable. The monthly payments were doable. But now that these new car prices are high and the cost to lease them is high too, it's like these things are just sitting on the lots. So it's saying new car market prices are about to plummet due to oversupply. It says the U.S. car market has shifted into lower gear in only a matter of months. After average car prices hit record highs as recently as last summer, some analysts now predict that an oversupply of vehicles will lead to a price war that sends prices plummeting. A recent report from UBS estimates that global car production will exceed sales by 6% this year, leaving an excess of 5 million vehicles that will require price cuts to get sold off of lots. Yahoo Finance reports. Although those price cuts might not happen until the latter half of 2023, automakers are preparing for a price war, and some electric vehicle makers are already slashing prices. They're probably talking about Tesla because I heard Tesla was recently slashing prices. See, the thing about it is Tesla probably marks up their vehicles enough where they're able to make a profit off of cars such as the Model 3 and the Model Y. I don't think they make that much of a profit off the Model S and the Model X. But the reality is Tesla has enough wiggle room where they can play with their prices a little bit more than most other car dealers can for those lower end models. Supposedly, Tesla's bringing a cheaper model to market very soon, and I think it might be called a Model 2. I'm not really sure. But whatever it is, a slightly cheaper Tesla is exactly what the market, kind of wants right now, because the average person who wants a daily driver, who has a house, who has a place to charge a car, they will definitely go for something smaller than the Model 3. A lot of these people are, these little ass Mazda 2s and these little BMW 1s and 2s and stuff. So there are some people who a small car is fine for. Like I see people all the time in these Smart for 2s on the road, and they're doing whatever they can to save gas, and they're doing whatever they can to, have a small car that's easy to park in the city. Anyway, it says, given the bullish production schedules, we see high risk of overproduction and growing pricing pressure as a result. UBS said in a note to clients, the price war has already started unfolding in the EV space, and we expect to spread into the combustion engine segment during the second half of 2023. Makers of family cars are most likely to suffer from price cuts the analyst said, while luxury car makers are expected to hold up better. EV makers might take a major hit due to the combination of soaring energy costs and high prices that put many consumers out of reach. And in January, Elon Musk Tesla slashed the price of its cars by up to 8,000 lira, or pounds. I guess that's pounds in the UK. Some of its cheaper models are now around the same price range as mass market brands such as Kia. Really? Okay, so they're probably talking about the Tesla Model Y and the Tesla Model 3 being priced roughly about the same as the Kia EV6 and possibly the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6, which just came out. And if you haven't seen the Ioniq 6 and the Ioniq 5, I would take a look at those before you consider buying a Tesla Model 3. But anybody who wants to buy a Tesla is going to buy a Tesla anyway, so it is what it is. Ford Motor Company and Lucid are among the other car manufacturers that have reacted to Tesla's cuts by lowering their own EV prices, according to the Proactive Investors website. Meanwhile, there is already evidence that car prices across all segments have softened. The latest data from Cox Automotive, released on Friday, showed that the wholesale used vehicle prices in March fell 2.4% from a year earlier, although they did tick up 1.5% from the previous month. A March 23 report from Kelley Blue Book found that new vehicle prices dropped for 3 straight months, and that it's starting to look like a sustained trend. Even so, prices remain historically high. Okay, so there's a couple of things you got to understand. Now, first of all, if you're looking to buy a car, always remember that usually by the end of the summer, and we haven't even started summer right now. We just entered what is it? We just entered spring on March 23rd. But usually by the end of summer, 2023 vehicles will start getting marked down heavily because they're trying to sell them in order to move in the 2024s. So by the end of the summer, moving towards the winter, you'll see 2024s popping onto the lot. And they'll definitely be trying to get rid of the 2023s. Now, here's the real problem. The real problem is the interest rates. See, the finance costs of the car isn't so bad, but the interest rates on leasing and the interest rates for buying these cars is so high that they've made it so that it's very difficult for you to have a reasonable monthly payment by stretching out the loan. There are some credit unions that will stretch out the loan to like 96 months, like Bethpage Federal Credit Union. I was looking at interest rates for new cars the other day. MCU, for example, they said that the lowest they do on a new car is like 5% or somewhere around the 5% or low fives. Bethpage Federal Credit Union, from what I saw, it looked like the lowest that they did was a 6. However, they allow you to stretch out the payment longer, which, creates, slightly a little bit of a buffer for people who may not be able to afford that car they want. But what you've been hearing is you've been hearing them talking in the news about how more and more people end up paying $1,000 a month for a car when they used to, not so long ago, they were only paying like $500 or $600 a month for a car. So that means when you're looking at these cars like Toyota Camry or Toyota Crown or Honda Accord, or you're looking at RAV4, or you're looking at a CRV, or even a Volkswagen Tiguan, the interest rates alone have pushed up those monthly payments, in some cases doubling those monthly payments. A lot of people, because they have other, and by the way, let's not forget, student loans have been paused, and that pause is about to end. And I'm not certain how comfortable Congress is working with Biden right now, but those student loan pauses are about to end. And when it comes to people being forced to pay student loans and pay rent and pay car note, chances are one of those things is going to have to go. And these people are going to see their credit scores get reduced. Like, bottom line is, it's like there's a lot of people who hold a lot of student loans. And there's a lot of people who rent is also significantly high. And if it really comes down to it, they know that they have no choice but to keep paying their student loans. So some people will ditch their cars. Auto loan repossessions are high right now. And a lot of people, this is like a segue, but it's still on the exact same subject. Housing inaffordability, auto loan inaffordability. Have you noticed that crime has been going up? Have you noticed that people have been getting more and more violent lately? Like, for instance, this guy who's a bank teller, and they got the video, they put the video right out. They got the video of the bank teller, and this fucking guy's got an AR-15, and he's up in there active shooting. Now, here I go to the bank, and I'm saying hi to my bank teller, and you never know, like, a bank teller, the guy works at the bank, and now the fucking guy has got an AR-15. He's up there busting shots at the cops. Like, this country's getting more and more violent. Gun sales are up. Is it any wonder why they're trying to disarm us? Washington State, they just passed a assault rifle ban, and they banned all the cool stuff. They banned all the stuff that I love. They banned supposedly they banned the AR-15 in all forms, the SCAR-20, the FAL. Supposedly they went after anything that was a semi-automatic rifle. And they know that this country's going down. Let's just face facts. They know it. But see, the crazy thing is, more and more people went out and bought guns because they were scared that eventually the government wouldn't be able to deal with it. See, the worst thing the government could have done was allowed all that rioting, and that even the Black Lives Matter rioting and the Capitol January 6th, when they let that shit get out on television, they basically allowed a lot of people who never even owned guns before to say, you know what, I'm scared, I'm going to go out and buy a gun. So they fucked up. It was the media who did that. They thought that the social justice shit was cute. When it was Black Lives Matter rioting, it was social justice. When it was all these people rioting because they felt that the election had been stolen from Trump, and they felt that they were being shut up so that they weren't able to talk about the fact that, number one, they felt the election was being stolen, and they felt that being forced to take vaccinations was unconstitutional. When these people were rioting about that shit, all of a sudden now that's a riot, this, that, and other. As far as I'm concerned, they're both riots. Bottom line is, by allowing that shit to get on television and allowing people to sit back and watch that, the next logical step for them to do was to go out and buy guns because they were afraid. Now, here in this country, we got the Second Amendment. So the reality is, hey, listen, if you feel that you need a weapon, you have every right to go out and buy a weapon. See, this ain't like those other countries out there that don't have the Second Amendment. And that's the reason why America has so much gun crime. And that's the reason why now when these parasites try to break into people's houses, now they get shot dead on the scene. You got old women shooting people with AR-15s now. And these people, you don't even have to call 911. It's like you just call them so that they can send a coroner to come pick up these bodies. That's how it is. Like, somebody break up into your house, you pull out that Desert Eagle, that Kimber. It's like now they got to call the coroner. You don't have to call the police. It's like there's nobody left to arrest. But that's what we've been pushed to. This country is getting more and more violent. And as far as I can see, it's only going to get worse. America under Biden and partially under Trump, and I'm not going to let him off the hook. Once he started that anti-China shit, once Trump started that tariff shit on China, that's when all of a sudden you saw everything start to decline. In 2019, before COVID, you saw everything start to quickly decline as soon as he started that shit. The reality is, China was allowing America to live a quality of life that our own productivity did not justify. So once China and Trump had that fallout, China cost Trump his presidency. Let's just say it like that. If it hadn't been for that outbreak of COVID, Trump would still be in office. If Trump had never opened his fucking mouth about China, Trump would still be in office. Now you got Biden in there, and Biden doubles down on the stupidity by starting a war, a proxy war with Russia over Ukraine, number one. And number two, anti-Chinese divestment strategy, which is part of the reason why. And I'm not going to do it right now. If you take a look at those stocks that I had told you about, specifically related to chips, take a look at Micron. Take a look at AMD. Now, I'd been telling you for 3 years to buy AMD, and that was back when it was $50 a share. AMD is like close to $100 a share right now. I was telling you about Micron. Here in New York, these cars require these chips. I made a video a week or two ago called Bet on Chips. If you look at my playlist, you'll see it. And the thing about it is Micron, Taiwan Semiconductors, Nvidia's up. Like right now, I've seen over $10,000 of new profit because of all the stock that I bought in Nvidia before they did the stock split. I don't erase any of my videos. If you look back at my videos, I was telling you to buy Nvidia long before the stock split. I was telling you that I had my own personal index. It was the base index called Mangoat. Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, Google, Amazon, oil stocks with dividends, and Tesla. Now, if you look way back to when I first talked about those things, you will see that up till now, the only two things that are down right now is Amazon and Google. Amazon and Google was slightly higher before they did the stock splits. The thing about it is I own 100 shares of Google, or a couple more. I own a few more than 100 shares of Google, and I own over 100 shares of Amazon, because when they did the split, it allowed me to just buy in and, watch those shares split. Amazon and Google are slowly coming back. They hit lows, I think 80 something dollars. They hit lows just like Facebook did. But suddenly all of those stocks have come back. Even Facebook. Facebook was under $90. Facebook right now is $217, at least the last time I checked. So all I'm saying is the American tech sector is making a comeback. Automotives is part of it. Because you have to remember, these cars require a lot of microchips. They require a lot of silicon. Every single feature in these freaking cars, from the door locks to the door windows to the seats to the airbag, every goddamn thing in these cars requires these chips. So you can sleep on it if you want. I tell you what, you put your money in Bitcoin and wait to see how much higher it gets. But the bottom line is, these dividend-paying stocks, that's my bet. I prefer to bet on dividend-paying stocks. And let me tell you, these tech stocks, Micron for one, they're putting a factory in Troy, New York, for example. Like one of the reasons why you saw Nancy Pelosi do all that insider trading crime while they're busy trying to hunt Trump down for crimes. Nancy Pelosi's committing crimes in your face. Just keep that in mind. So one of the reasons why she went over there to Taiwan, because she was divesting out of Taiwan and she was pulling her money back here because she made all that money with Nvidia. So my thing is, Nvidia, AMD, Taiwan Semiconductors, America is afraid that China might try to take over Taiwan. So America has said, you know what? If they took over Taiwan, they would control 90% of the chips in the world. So what we're doing right now is we're reinvesting into building chips here. Now, I don't know how much that's ultimately going to cost, but considering we're $31 trillion national debt headed towards 32, I don't think America is really worried about how much it's going to cost us. In fact, some people might argue that America driving us deeper and deeper into debt is going to wipe out the debt. Like some people think, oh yeah, well if we just default on the debt, we don't have to pay it. Like it's like it's like if you know that you can't afford it, but you take a credit card anyway and you buy up all the stuff you want to buy, and then you just when the people call you and they're like, hey, hi, yeah, this is Discover. You owe us $5,000, and you'd be like, click, fucking hang up on them. I don't think that really works well, but the leaders in my government have other ideas. I don't think that works very well. Or I'm sorry, when I say leaders, I mean quote unquote leaders. I don't believe they're real leaders. I think these people suck. But bottom line is, I'm not worried about them. I'm trying to make just enough money so that I can move the fuck out of here and get to Thailand or Philippines in my retirement so that I'll be on the beach with a nice young wife and she'll be serving me the buko juice and giving me coconut oil massages like while I'm on the beach. Now you're going to be here waiting on Bitcoin to take you to the moon. But I'm going to be on the beach in Thailand. I'm going to be on the beach in Philippines with my nice young wife. And she's going to be serving me the buko juice and a lot of other things too. And that's just my plan. So yeah, the car industry is a mess. The car industry is absolutely a mess. These cars are sitting on these lots. Now, with the exception of wealthy people, the last thing I would say, with the exception of wealthy people, and with the exception of a handful of key vehicles, key high-selling vehicles, most of these cars aren't moving. These interest rates, like that, I have to say that because it segs right into the next story about the houses. These interest rates are killing sales in general. Credit card use is lower. It's reducing now. There are a lot of people who use credit cards regularly. Even me, I use credit cards regularly. But the thing about it is I pay the bill immediately, so I don't pay interest. The thing about it is when these people see their interest rates go up on their credit cards and they see that their monthly payment rises, a lot of these people, they now have to divert more money to pay down that credit card because now it's costing them so much more. And now they're seeing themselves literally losing money. So my thing is, these interest rates that the feds have set up, these interest rates are brutal. And it's affected everything. It's really affected everything. So what it really comes down to is wherein I want you to think about people in your own life, because chances are you could easily see this in your own life and you could tell me your own story about. Chances are you know a person who used to release a car every 3 years. Chances are you know a person, every time you saw them, they had a new car. Chances are right now they don't. Chances are the last car that they got that was new, they probably refinanced it and kept it. Or if they did release, they leased it to something cheaper. Chances are. Now, I'm not talking about a rich, wealthy person. I'm talking about your average middle class person. One of the smartest things I did was I told some of my family members and my coworkers, I told them, I was like, listen, the car that you got is fully featured, fully loaded. It still looks good. You might as well keep it, hold on to it, and just release it. Because when I told them to release their cars, it was before 2022. Once America started that shit with Russia over Ukraine, all these interest rates, the Fed started pushing interest rates up at about the same time that oil prices went up. So in many of their cases, they had a decent fuel-efficient car that also, because they refinanced it, it actually cut their payments down because they were buying out the rest of the lease. So they refinanced from a lease to a finance, and they were able to actually save money. And not only that, when you went from lease to finance, it allowed you to stretch out the term. So wherein you normally would have had, a 3-year left on your term, you could stretch it out to 4 or 5 or 6, which allows you to have a cheaper monthly payment. But they did it at less than a 4%. Well, they did it for a lower percentage than you could get now. So if they were to try to buy that same car brand new right now, they would pay twice as much. So, I actually did a good thing right there. So, that's the bottom line. It's like if you focus on saving money, in the end, you'll probably win. And now we got to talk about houses. All right. So you may have heard this, but mortgage lenders are now losing money on loans for the first time in years. So they're saying mortgage lenders lost hundreds of dollars on average for each loan they originated last year, while soaring interest rates dampened demand, according to a new report. The report from the Mortgage Bankers Association revealed that banks and mortgage companies lost an average of $301 for each loan originated in 2022, down from an average profit of $2,339 per loan the year before. The rapid rise in mortgage rates over a relatively short period of time, combined with extremely low housing inventory and affordability challenges, meant that both purchase and refinance volume plummeted. This is said by Marina Walsh, MBA's Vice President of Industry Analysis. The stellar profits of the previous 2 years dissipated because of the confluence of declining volume, lower revenues, and higher costs per loan. A for sale sign stands in front of a house today in Westwood, Massachusetts. Okay. The report showed that the cost per loan swelled to a study high of $10,624. Companies could not adjust their capacity fast enough. The number of production employees declined, but not at the same pace as origination volume. Mortgages are getting more expensive. No shit. MBA's report also found an all-time high cost for first mortgages. The average loan balances for first-time mortgage holders shot up to $323,780 in 2022, up from $298 in 2021. This marks the largest single-year increase in the history of the report, which began in 2008. Mortgage rates rose rapidly during the latter half of 2021, while the Federal Reserve battled growing inflation with a series of jumbo interest rate hikes. At their height, rates for the benchmark 30-year fixed mortgage crossed the 7% threshold. Despite the U.S. Central Bank's ongoing effort to tamp down inflation, leading to even more interest rate increases, mortgage rates have settled. The average rate fell for the fifth straight week last week to 6.28%. At the same point last year, the average rate sat at 4.67%. So that's pretty much the end of the story. They don't really like to write very much. So they keep these things short. But I will say this, I'm really, I'm looking up right now and I see my ceiling fan. My ceiling fan is off because it's still kind of cold, so I don't need to turn it on yet. But I am so thankful just to have my ceiling fan, man. Let me tell you something. My first house was less than $300,000. My second house was less than $300,000. And I bought before 2020. So actually, I got into the second one in 2018. And the reality is, I'm paying less for 2 houses altogether. I'm paying less for 2 houses, mortgage, taxes, and insurance. I was paying less for 2 houses than the average person in Manhattan is paying for a single apartment. You may have paid attention to our news. The price of a single studio apartment in Manhattan exceeded $4,000 last year. It's absolutely insane. Like, when I think about it, I am just thankful that I have the financial savvy that I have, because I'm staring up at my ceiling fan, and yeah, it's off, But I'm just glad that I have my ceiling fan. Because when I'm looking up, I got my ceiling fan, got my wall mounted television, and I'm thinking about all these people who are paying twice as much as I pay just to have a freaking apartment. It's mind boggling how badly they've screwed up this goddamn economy. But then I think to all those people who they don't have a house or an apartment and they're going to be stuck living with their parents for a long time because they didn't do the smart thing and focus on real estate. A lot of them were busy focusing on Dogecoin and Bitcoin and SRT vehicles and Hellcats and stuff. A lot of them were focused on buying cars and flashy shit. And they thought, oh, yeah, well, I'll buy this Toyota Supra Founders Edition. I'll buy this now and I'll buy a house later. And now they're stuck in their parents' basement, you know? And I thought to myself, man, I am so smart. It's like I could have fucked myself over and I could have went out and wrote a check for one of those obsolete Jeep Trackhawks and been stuck with $100,000 car and a $2,000 a month payment or something like that. I could have been stuck with that shit. And instead of doing that, I did the smart thing. And I said, no, you know what? I think I'm going to focus on real estate instead. It is what it is. I personally do not like, you're going to hear a lot of people online talking about a housing crash. Let me tell you something. I do not, mark my words, I do not believe a housing crash is coming anytime soon. And there's a simple reason. This is totally different than 2008. This is totally different. A lot of the people who bought houses in 2008 bought those houses on ninja loans. They bought those houses, sight unseen. They bought those houses with no job verification. This is not the same thing. If you get a mortgage now, they're looking at your credit. They're looking at your job. They're checking to make sure you're getting a job and you're getting paychecks from a job. They're checking your taxes. They're not doing the same things anymore. Not only that, a lot of those people paid for those mortgages because the mortgage brokers, what they were doing was they were stealing the equity out of the house in order to afford the payment. So they were literally sucking the equity out of these homes. So now there is no equity in the homes because the problem is a lot of people are underwater. Even people who bought in within the last 3 years, a lot of these people are underwater. The balance on their house, a lot of people bought when housing prices were higher. So that means that because the house value of the house, because it's actually gone down, a lot of these people got into these mortgages and they're actually underwater right now. I would say the best people who got into their homes got in when rates were still 3%. If they got in when it was a 3%, chances are by now the house has appreciated that they've got. And on top of that, especially for the people who already had a house and they refinanced, let me tell you something. These people are not walking away from those houses. The only people who will absolutely walk away from houses are people who have no money to pay the mortgage and people who basically give up and they throw away a property and they leave the property. But that's not happening right now. That was happening with apartments in Manhattan and Brooklyn and probably other places during the pandemic. But that's not happening right now. A lot of those people, they say, yeah, fuck this lease. I'll leave this place and I'll go buy a house. Even though they'll fuck up my credit, it'll take them so long to fuck up my credit that I'll be in a new house by the time they fuck up my credit. So even if they had a house before, some people left their old house and they just left it. They went to a new house. And by the time the bank was able to fuck their credit up, they were already in the new house. They care less. They could basically declare bankruptcy and start over. If even that, they might not need to declare bankruptcy. If they were married, and this is one of the benefits of being married. Like I know a lot of times we talk about how being married sucks in America, which it does. But one of the benefits of being married is it gives you a little bit more financial leeway if you have a trustworthy spouse. If you have a husband and a wife, and let's say the husband's name is the one on the mortgage, and let's say you decided that you want to walk away from a property, right? You can take out a mortgage in the wife's name, And then both of you could move towards the new house knowing that you're just going to abandon the first house. Now, you're not supposed to do that because technically that's fraud. And yeah, they're going to come after the husband. They're going to fuck his credit up as much as they can. The thing about it is, during the pandemic, there were people who made decisions just like that. There were people who was like, yeah, we got to get out of here because we don't know. Like, they had people terrified. They had people thinking, oh man, New York they're about to close up the floodgates. They made us think it was like Resident Evil. Like, you remember Resident Evil Apocalypse, how the city has like two main gates, and now they close the gates, and now you can't get out of the city or you can't get into the city. They made us think that they were literally going to shut down the whole goddamn city and lock us in here. I knew people. I'm not going to name names. I knew people were panicking. Oh, I got to get out of here. I got to get back to my state. I got to get out of here. People jumping on planes and shit and flying out of here. Like, they had people terrified. It's just like when I'm talking about them letting you watch rioting and shit on television. They had people terrified. Believe me, I wasn't terrified. I was sitting back watching this shit on television. I was like, yeah, this is, like, I was chilling. I wasn't terrified at all. At all. In fact, if you were watching my apocalypse driving videos, I was having the time of my life. There were no cops on the road. All of them were scared to be out there because they were afraid if they pulled somebody over, they were going to catch COVID from them. The cops were calling in sick. They had, what was it? We call it the blue flu. Man, I was out there doing 110 miles an hour everywhere I was going. I was here to my mom's house, 10 minutes. Man, I was flying. I could get from here to Manhattan faster than ever before. Fuck, I was having a great time. And then all of a sudden the traffic came back, and now I wasn't having such a good time anymore. But you remember the Apocalypse Driving series. I was walking around in the middle of Manhattan. There was like nobody on the street and shit. I was singing in the rain, man. It was like I Am Legend. And then all of a sudden everything came back to normal. It wasn't so much fun then. But anyway, all I'm saying is a lot of people got themselves into really bad loans. Now, the people who got themselves a loan at a 3% or less, if those people are treading water and those people are okay, those people ain't selling those houses. And one of the reasons why they can't sell their houses is because if they did sell their house, they'd never get enough money to move to a new house. Because the problem is the houses that they would want to move to have been inflated in value so much that they'd never be able to afford them. Right now, ain't nothing moving. Cars ain't moving. Houses ain't moving. It is what it is. That's just what it is. So my recommendation, if you're planning on trying to buy a car, or and you don't, let's say you don't have a car, because my thing is, listen, if you have a car, you might as well keep that thing rolling and stay in it until prices start to come down. I don't see interest rates coming down anytime soon because Jerome Powell's pretty much made it clear he's going to keep interest rates as high as possible because he claims he's fighting inflation. Yeah, well, if you want to fight inflation, stop printing goddamn welfare checks. But my thing is, if you're looking for a car, I would wait because if you wait, eventually they're going to have tremendous markdowns on the loan amounts. And then you might be able to buy one, even if the interest rates are high, you might be able to buy one deeply discounted. The same thing goes for houses. The only thing you can do right now, especially if you want a house and you live in a key metropolitan area, chances are the only thing you're going to be able to do is save money. No matter how much money you save, you're still chasing the cost of inflation. So whatever you have is not going to be enough. I have friends with over $100,000 saved. I have friends with over $200,000 saved. Here's the problem: the house that they want is like $800,000 or $900,000. So no matter how much they save, it doesn't matter because the value of the prices of the houses just keeps going up. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. So all I can suggest to you right now: save your money. Right now, I'm saving as much as I can save. My YouTube checks that come in, I'm tucking those away. Well, specifically because I plan on getting my electric Cadillac as soon as these bastards build it. So they're saying I should have it by the summer. For all I know, it might not get here till August, but the bottom line is I'll have it when I have it. So there's that. All I can say is save your money. That's it. Because the problem is right now, it's like if you spend your money right now, chances are it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Now, if you're lucky enough to be able to find a property that you can actually afford, yeah, go ahead and buy it. But chances are, with these interest rates, chances are that's not happening. Because these interest rates are oppressive. They're oppressive. Save your money. Do what you can. Tread water. Save your money. On the investment side of things, they're claiming that futures are rising as investors are waiting to see CPI inflation numbers. So the Dow Jones is slightly up. So anybody who owns Dow listed stocks has probably seen their numbers rise in their portfolios recently. I know I have. Gold is up. China is buying gold. Russia, I believe, is buying gold. Everybody's buying gold right now. So gold went from like $1,900 into the $2,000 range. As you can see, the tech stocks of my index Mangoat are still doing well. They're temporarily in the red, but if you take a good look at their performance in the last 3 months, we'll say, even let's say the last year, if you take a look at their performance, they took a major dip. Because if you really think about it, a year ago, that's when we started that Russia-Ukraine bullshit, right? So, yeah, there was a major dip, but if you take a look, they're pretty much back to the levels they were about a year ago. That's Microsoft right there. Apple, same thing. Apple's reaching back to where it was. They took a major dip come December. And this is 1 year you're looking at, but levels are getting back where they're supposed to be. Take a look at NVIDIA. 1 year, as you can see, obvious growth. And this is what I've been talking about when I'm talking about bet on chips. This is the reason why I was telling you about this chips market. That's the reason why I made the video bet on chips. I mean, hey, if it's good enough for Nancy Pelosi, it's good enough for the average American, right? Google is making its way back. But again, since we started that Russian-Ukraine proxy war, everything took a major dip. I have to say, that was something I never could have imagined was going to happen. And I couldn't imagine that America would be stupid enough to try to conduct a proxy war with a country like Russia who's nuclear armed and right next door to the country that they're attacking. I never imagined that we'd be that stupid. Google and Amazon are going to make their comeback. So the question is whether you're in or out. There are some people who may be comfortable buying Google. There's some people who may be comfortable buying Amazon. There's some people who aren't. If you have extra money, especially since we're leading into tax season, if you have extra money right now, in fact, Google passed $100 because it was under $100 recently. But in fact, as you can see, the 52-week low was $83.45. So after Google and Amazon did their stock splits, that's when we had the issue with Russia, and that's when the prices dipped severely. What I can say is if you can afford Google and Amazon, good for you. Maybe buy some, but you're going to make your money back over the next couple of years, I believe. The same thing as I could also say about Amazon. Amazon is still slightly under $100. It's $99.92. Amazon is going to be fine. Amazon is going to be fine because the thing about it is most people, they're not shopping in malls. In fact, most of the goddamn malls are going out of business. The malls themselves, the stores, they're going out of business. People still go and shop, though, because people have this unbearable urge that they have to shop online. So Amazon. In fact, I got something in the mail coming from Amazon. I bought what is it? I bought some memory chips for one of my laptops. I bought a 32 gigabyte upgrade, and I'm waiting for that to get here. So that should be here in a couple of days. It'll probably be here by Saturday. And Amazon's the one delivering it because I bought it from Amazon. I was also thinking about getting a colored knife set. So it is what it is. People shop. Amazon's always been big money, but you know what that is. The right now, if you don't own Amazon or Google and you didn't buy in during the stock split, right now is a decent time to buy. Like if you have, let's say, I don't know how much you plan on investing this year, but Amazon and Google, those are definitely worth holding at least 10 shares. So if you have $1,000 will buy you 10 shares of Amazon. $1,000, if you put a little bit more in, will buy you, what is that? If you put, 6 times 10, $1,060, you can buy 10 shares of Google. So that would cost you, $2,060 to buy 10 shares Amazon, 10 shares Google. I own over 100 shares of Google and over 100 shares of Amazon. So yes, there is an incentive for me to tell you this, but you can do what you want. You do whatever you want. It's not my money. It's like you do. I don't pocket watch. I don't dick police. You can do whatever you want. Tesla. I'm a long time holder of Tesla. I sold off a lot of my Tesla. Tesla's a really weird stock to own. Tesla is basically a meme stock, no different than GameStop, no different than AMC because of Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk has kind of tapped down just a little bit. Like, he's not as crazy as he was like last year. But the reality is Tesla, especially considering they basically have the lion's share of the EV market, especially if you look at Norway and you look at parts of Northern Europe. Tesla basically owns the EV market. Now, China is doing its best to put a stop to that because China wants to control the EV market in Asia and Southeast Asia. And with companies like BYD and NIO and the other, because they have a bunch of companies, Chinese electric vehicles, especially in the countries like Russia that we have sanctioned, China is going to do just fine. China also has the ability to make these things cheaper for countries like in Southeast Asia that can't afford, Tesla prices. So the reality is Tesla is going to do well in North America and parts of Europe. But I would think that China is going to basically dominate Southeast Asia and Asia in general. More people want Tesla, but a lot of those people can't afford Tesla. And if Tesla does bring out Model 2 and they hurry up and produce that Cybertruck, mostly I'm really thinking about the smaller than the Model 3. If Tesla does produce that, Tesla is absolutely going to skyrocket, just like they did because of the Model 3 and the Model Y. So Tesla is still worth buying. Intel, their numbers are down, but you have to remember Intel is also part of the chips play. Intel is Raleigh-based corporation, and the thing about it is Intel pays a dividend. So that's one of the reasons why I own Intel. Micron has been making its come up, as you can see over the last year. It was down because everything was down thanks to the Russia-Ukraine nonsense. But Micron is going to low-key move up. In fact, there was a news story. They were showing how Micron stock has been jumping because of Samsung's chip reduction. So as you can see, it says Micron stock jumps as Samsung cuts chip output. Keep in mind, Samsung is a Korean-based company where most of the product is made in China. Bottom line is, America's forcing Micron and a couple of other chip manufacturers in America forward. And we're going to put major investment into American chip production. So that chip production is going to be in vehicles. It's going to be everywhere. Prices on goods from China may start to rise. But the simple fact is, as long as we control our own chip production, we probably won't see another issue where, how should I say, vehicles are in higher demand than they are supply simply because we don't have chips to put in our Ford trucks, or simply because we don't have chips to put in our GM trucks or our Ram trucks. It's like all of these vehicles need these chips. They really, really need them. So, yeah, Micron is an up and comer. My recommendation, whatever you can afford, you know. AMD, I still like AMD. As you can see, the crypto market, after the collapse of Silicon Bank and a couple of those other banks. And one thing that you have to remember, Silicon Bank was directly linked to Silicon Valley. So when we started this shit with China, that's when you started to see the eggshell crack. Because the reality is, they were making huge profits thanks to China. When I say China was allowing us to live a quality of life that our own productivity did not justify, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Thanks to China investment, thanks to Russian investment, a lot of these banks, a lot of these entities, a lot of these companies, they were getting money that they otherwise wouldn't have been getting. But now that we're trying to cut China and Russia out, oh yeah, you're going to see collapses. But a lot of these people still want to earn, how should I say, they want to earn returns on their money. And some of these people have risked it in Bitcoin, and some of these people have risked it in cryptocurrency. The thing about it is, the overall look of cryptocurrency is still not good. See, people want to rally, oh yeah, well it's $30,000, yay. But see, what they don't want to talk about is all the money they lost when it went from $68,000 down to $55,000, down to $50,000, and right now you're at 30. See, they want to talk about the rise from 17 to 30. They don't want to talk about the decline from 68 to 30. That's what they don't want to talk about. So I'll leave it right there. There's still these people online. Oh yeah, just buy some XRP. You'll be rich by the end of the year. You're going to the moon. No, no. You're still going to be right here. Trust me. After the dust settles, you'll see. It'll be some time, but you'll see. Berkshire Hathaway is up. I'm a Berkshire B holder, so yeah, I'm happy to see that. Facebook is up, but I hate Zuckerberg, and I didn't invest in Facebook. I have family members who did invest in Facebook. I hate that bastard. No, they're not getting any of my money. They'll get nothing out of me except dank memes. Roku is up. Roku is a good company to invest in, because you got to remember, Roku, they've got these smart television. They have a very well fleshed out smart TV system. And they got their little remote, their little Roku remote they package with every single TV. They got to give you a gigantic 80-inch TV, and then they give you a tiny-ass Roku remote. And for the most part, it works very well. In fact, one of my family members, one of their televisions, the sensor stopped working, and I showed them how they could connect their phone to the television so they could run the Roku app, and they could run it off their phone. And Roku, yeah, they're definitely worth buying as a growth stock. And it is what it is. Now, I will say this. The last thing I'll probably mention, oil. In general, oil prices are rising. Energy prices, as I mentioned in one of these stories I read, oil prices, energy, gas prices, they're going up. You got to remember, we were importing over 3 million barrels of oil from Russia every single week. We were. Before last year, but a year this time. 600,000 barrels every other day. More than 600,000 barrels. And that was just like an average number. By cutting Russia off, and starting the sanctions with Russia. See, a lot, and it's funny, they're not talking about it in the news. A lot of countries that America wanted to turn against Russia, a lot of those countries are basically thinking twice about it because they realize that they can't afford to cut Russia off because they need that oil. Japan is one, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, those are three others. China, we already know that China's in it with Russia. We already know it. And the reality is, these people, they're like, wait a minute. Why should we go along with America when we're suffering over here and Americans ain't suffering? And a lot of them, they woke up and they were like, wait a minute, this doesn't make no fucking sense. Bottom line is this. Gas prices are about to go up in a major way. Come this September, mark my words, come this September, I'm going to have my electric Cadillac Lyriq. And I'm going to be driving my electric Cadillac Lyriq, and I ain't even going to be worried about gas prices. I give a fuck if they raise the shit to $20 a gallon. But bottom line is, I'm going to have my electric Cadillac. I'm going to be rolling the electric Cadillac. Now, a lot of you are buying Hyundai, Ioniq, and Kia EV6. That's fine. But understand something. Gas prices are going back up. Now, I don't think we're going to get the same shock that we got last year when we started that Russia-Ukraine bullshit. But gas prices are going back up. Mark my words. They're going back up. They are going back up. So don't get too comfortable in your gas guzzler because gas prices are going back up. So it just is what it is. All right, so I don't think there's anybody else worth talking about. The airlines are down in a major way. JetBlue is at $7.22. Probably worth picking up some JetBlue, but it all depends how you feel about the airlines. The airlines have never been profitable, not on a stock level. Who has been profitable is the military-industrial complex. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, those guys, they are highly profitable. But just buying the airlines in general is not very profitable. They don't even pay a dividend. But yeah, you can already see it. Oil prices, they're getting ready to go back up. So, hey, listen, it is what it is. My recommendation, however, is if you do buy into oil, instead of buying the oil mining stocks that I bought when I made that video, I Am an Oil Man, I really recommend the gas companies that pay dividends. The gas companies that pay dividends are the safe way to go. Chevron, Valero, Sunoco, Exxon, all of these things pay dividends. Like Chevron, for example, pays a 3.59% dividend. Well, but then again, here's the problem. As you can see, the prices are in the green for oil. That tells you right there, gas is going up. It tells you we're starting to enter summer, guys. Now, if you waited to buy into oil and gas, then maybe you might want to avoid those because chances are you're too late. And if you do get in, you're not going to get as much profit. I would recommend you focus on chips instead of gas and oil. I don't see gas and oil going up ridiculously like they did last year. See, last year, what it was, for those of you who are new to my channel, because I have a lot of people new to my channel. In 2020, Russia and Saudi Arabia had an oil production war, basically. They were basically trying to outproduce each other. Their oil production war caused gas prices to fall. Oil per barrel went below zero. It was below zero. It went negative. There were ships offshore that had no place to put their oil because they had extra oil. There was like so much oil, right? That was while Trump was in office, in fact. That's one of the reasons why Trump could easily brag about having like the lowest energy prices, the lowest gas prices, while Biden has highest gas prices. So the reality was, prices went negative. When I saw that happen, I took all my money and I bought as much oil and gas and natural gas stock as I could buy. And I made a video back then I called I Am an Oil Man. It was like all of these oil stocks, these things were pennies, and all of a sudden they turned into dollars over the next year. And I cashed out a lot of money. So much money that when I buy my electric Cadillac, I'm not even buying it with a loan. I'm just going to buy it cash. Cadillac cash. So I've already paid the taxes on it, so don't worry about that. The IRS and I are hand-in-hand good friends. I already paid the taxes. I'm not worried about that. So bottom line is it may be too late to buy gas and oil stocks. I'll just say it like that. You may not be able to profit the way I did. The only other thing I can recommend are banks, because the bank stocks, let me see, where are they? The bank stocks like Capital One and JP Morgan Chase, like the bank stocks look at these bank stocks. I want you to just look at the trajectory of these bank stocks. Now, I know they were talking about, oh yeah, the banks are failing, put your money in Bitcoin. I want you to look at the trajectory of these bank stocks. And this is one of the reasons why I bought bank stocks. Take a look at the trajectory. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Carver. Take a look at the trajectory. I understand that they're down from maybe a year or two ago, but the trajectory is up. So the individual shares still pay dividends and their trajectory is up. So first of all, these are banks that aren't failing. These are the banks that are relatively too big to fail, quote unquote. So the reality is they are cheap, they're affordable, and they pay dividends. So the more shares that you hold, that helps you to build your dividend paying portfolio. Because you have to understand, 10 years from now, I intend to be retired. I'm going to be on a beach with a young wife. And she's going to be serving me the buco juice. I'm going to do nothing. Like, you know how some people, they have these aspirations like, yeah, I'm going to retire and then I'm going to do what I really want to do. I'm going to be a painter or let me tell you something. I have no aspirations at all. I want to be doing nothing but collecting my pension check and just sitting on a beach, swimming, and got my young wife there serving me the buco juice. I have no aspirations at all. I got people in my family, as soon as they retired, oh yeah, I got to get a PhD. I got to be a PhD. I got people in my family, they retired, they spend all their money building cars, Ford cars, Mercors, Capris, this, that, and other. I got people in my family, they retired, and as soon as they retired, oh yeah, I got to do something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you personally, I have no aspirations whatsoever. None. I want to be in a nice foreign country with my nice young foreign wife, and all I have to do every month is wake up to go to the mailbox. No, in fact, it won't even be a mailbox. It's direct deposit now. All I got to do is turn on my phone and take a look. Oh, there's my pension money for the month. And now I get to save a large portion of it simply because I'm living in a country where the cost of living is much, much lower than it was when I was in New York City. My houses here, I'm going to rent these houses out, and somebody can live right up in here and they'll be laying in bed. They'll be looking at my ceiling fan and they'll be like, wow, thank goodness I was able to rent this house. It's too bad I don't own it, and it's too bad that the owner is never going to sell it to me. But at least I have a place to rest my head while he's over there in Philippines or Thailand, and he's got a young wife, and I'm paying him rent so that he can sip buco juice all fucking day long. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about one of these retirements where, you go out and you become somebody or you help people. No, fuck all of that. I'm going to be on a beach swimming back and forth like a fish. And I'm going to have a young wife serving me the buco juice and the mango apricot sauce. And she's going to be giving me the peach cobbler every day. And then I'll just turn around and get me a coconut massage. And that's it. I have no aspirations whatsoever. None. So that's what it is. And in order for you to achieve that, Just like your grandparents, just like your forefathers, you're going to want to have a dividend paying stock portfolio. You're going to want to have something that is returning money to you. Now, to tell you the truth, real estate is the best possible dividend you can have. And the reason why is because if you've paid off your house, the money that you'd get renting those properties, oh, you can't beat that dividend at all, because that's a return on investment that is untouchable this day and age. Not only that, if you have children, you got to leave them property, because chances are your kids ain't going to be able to afford shit in the future. Chances are. You know what they're saying right now? They have a saying, they say, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. Well, me personally, I'm not happy owning nothing. I know these liberals keep coming up with stupid shit that they think makes sense, but no. I'm not happy owning nothing. But they're saying you will own nothing, your kids will own nothing, and you'll be happy. I don't believe that. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. Now, you might believe it, I don't believe it. But that's it. That's what we're talking. That's what we're talking about. So, yes, this has been just another quickie update. It is now 8:18. I will upload this video. I should have it up and running before opening bell of the stock market today on Wednesday at 9:30. So, you can put your comments in the comment section. I know I don't make these videos as much as I used to, but the reality is Passport Bro content makes me more money, and that's just that simple. It's all about making money for those big fat YouTube checks that I can take and I can use to invest in stock. So, it is what it is. So, any comments, criticisms, questions, just put those right down there in the comment section.